So 35 years ago, most of you in the room know the story that Sharon and I lost everything. We got the opportunity in our late 20s to start completely over. We were bankrupt with a marriage hanging on by a thread, a brand new baby, and a toddler. Rachel Cruz was born in April. I filed bankruptcy in September. And she was Rachel Ramsey then. So I remember standing in the shower with it so hot I could barely stand it and just stand there and cry because I was so scared I couldn't breathe. And I had met God on the way up, but I got to know him on the way down. And I started finding out that the Bible said some things about money, and I have a finance degree and all these letters and licenses after my name, but I was broke, and I was amazed at these biblical financial principles because when I talked to old rich people, they told me the exact same thing, and it turns out it sounds ridiculously like common sense, which was so rare 35 years ago and is even more rare now that having common sense is somewhat like having a superpower. Things like live on less than you make, get out of debt, have a budget, be generous, always save and invest. These common sense principles come straight out of your grandmother's playbook and out of the Bible. And I started applying them in our lives, and then I started helping people at our church that were struggling with money and helped a guy stop a foreclosure on his house and walk through, and I just started, a little ministry was born, and later a guy said, hey, I'll pay you if you will come over and coach and show a guy in our company that's struggling with money how to do this. And then I was invited to speak at that company. I'd never spoken anywhere. I was so scared I couldn't breathe. And all of this started to be born, this whole Ramsey financial thing. I was still doing real estate deals, or I'd gone back to doing real estate deals after going broke, only I wasn't borrowing any money because no one would loan me any money. And so I was doing Flip This House before Chip and Joanna were born. And, but the idea of helping people with this money stuff just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I couldn't hold it in my space, couldn't space it in my head anymore. There wasn't room for it anymore. And so I started having to actually start doing it. And the first thing I did was I said, okay, if I'm gonna go full time and not do real estate anymore, and I'm gonna work on this financial peace stuff, and I'm gonna help do books and seminars and maybe a class. The first thing is that for sure, I don't want employees. Because as far as I was concerned, employees come late, leave early, and steal while they're there. I didn't want any employees. And it was just me and my wife, young kids were hanging on each day for dear life. We were terrified, but, and the unknown is scary, you know? I'm making mistakes left and right, left and right, left and right. And we walked our way through that, and I gotta tell you, you can do this. You can do it. The first thing I did was I hired a guy named Russ Carroll. And he came to me through a thing. He had gone through some of the training I had been through on what the Bible says about money, and I met him that way. And we went out to dinner, and I said, I don't want employees. But if you want to form a team, we'll be a team. But I really can't babysit you. I have no desire to run a kindergarten class. Life is too short, and I'm way too broke to put up with it, and I really don't have the money to pay you anything, so you better be good at this, because otherwise it's not gonna work. And we began developing the proven principles and fighting and scratching and clawing and trying to, all the dumb butt stuff I have done in 35 years, all the false starts, all the dead end roads I went down, all the box canyons I went up, full of lions, tigers, bears, and jitterbugs. Oh my God, the stuff I have done, the things I've exposed myself to just because I wouldn't stop and I was just purely running and gunning. All I did was just outrun my stupidity continuously. Anybody relate? It just felt like if I just worked harder, it'd be okay. And we began developing this system, and we didn't realize it. We were walking through the system, and now, all these years later, we've now, over the last 15 years, led and worked with small businesses like you, about 10,000 of you across the nation, and watched your companies go through a process that we've clearly identified that is replicatable and happens over and over. And the good news about identifying the process is it keeps you from running up all those dead ends, because you know what the next step is. I didn't know what the next step was. I just had to go. I had to do it. I didn't know where to go. And so I just overcame it with sheer willpower, effort, and activity. And it took twice as long because of all the stupid butt stuff I did by not knowing what the next steps were, by not knowing I was involved in a process that was naturally unfolding, but I only could see it now when we look back at it, and it's very clear. So there's two things I know about this system that we're going to talk about. One is, it's not theory. This was not born in a think tank at Harvard, and we wish it was true. It was not written out by a finance professor who's never made payroll. We make payroll. Never missed one. 35 years. We haven't missed. So we did this. I gutted this out. Many of you have gutted this out. We walked with you while you did it, and we've observed this replicatable, clear system. And the second thing I know about this system is that these things that we've observed and now we're applying to make it smoother is business is still hard. Knowing the next steps makes it more efficient, but it's still freaking hard. If you're a wuss, I don't know how you got in here, and you probably won't be back next year. Business is hard. Anybody that tells you it's easy doesn't know what the flip they're talking about. And I keep waiting on it to get easy. I keep waiting for someone to discover me and just write me a check. Not gonna get easy. Bad news. But the good news is we have found a way to make it more efficient, more predictable, and walking out these steps. And there comes a time that you can't keep doing business by the seat of your pants. And for you, that time is now, because I'm gonna show you how to stop it. I didn't know all that back then. We call this the EntreLeadership system. And we've been working on it very, very detailed for a long time now. Back in the day, so the unlock was I started to recognize about 6 key areas in the business that were driving the business. At first, I didn't realize, I realized they were there and there and there and there, and then we started looking at them and then we went, wait a minute, no, they're progressive, and once you go through them, you're gonna go through them again and take each one of them deeper, and then you're gonna go through them again and take each one of them deeper, and then you're gonna go through them again and take each one of them deeper. There are 6 of them. The first one is personal. I discovered that I am the problem with my business. John Maxwell, in his famous book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, calls this the lid, the leadership lid. I'm the lid on my business. I'm the problem with my business. That's the bad news. It will never grow faster than I can personally grow. That's the bad news. The good news is if I'm the problem, I'm also the freaking solution. And I can just decide to be at stuff like this, feed my brain, feed my spirit, and go home and kick a whole nother level of butt that I've never done before. I can decide to be better. Obviously, I'm not the same leader I was when I was 32 years old. I was just a freaking boss. Bosses push, leaders pull. I had to discover that. I didn't know that. And as I have been transformed by the renewing of my mind, and you're being transformed by the renewing of your mind, that's personal growth, and you start getting out of your own way. The second one is purpose. Business is bigger than the bottom line. If the only thing you're in business for is money, you do not have emotional staying power. It's not sustainable to just work for money because it's too freaking hard. The bull crap you put up with, the betrayal you put up with, the ridiculous things we face, and you go, what in the world? Are your parents cousins? How did you come up with that? You and I know you know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, it's just the frustration level makes you want to just, it's not sustainable. You can't push through that kind of stuff just for money because you're going to go through too much crap. You got to have a sense of purpose, a higher calling. And your team needs to know that the work that they're doing actually matters. It actually matters. And here's some testimonials. Here's some customers that are happy that they did business with us. Well, Dave, I'm a plumber. How does my work matter? Boy child needs a shower. Your work matters. I don't get a shower. For that matter, I don't get a hot shower. It's going to be a bad day for me and probably some others. Your work matters. You got to figure out how your work matters, and your team has to plug into that purpose, and you got to constantly be yakking about this. It's personal, purpose, people. Oh. And we heard from Pat Head Summit famously yesterday that you're not going to win the Kentucky Derby with a donkey. You need thoroughbreds. It's a constant process, as our friend Jim Collins says, to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, the right people on the right seats on the bus, and the thoroughbreds in the right seat in the bus to get the work done. And you're going to do that over and over and over again, and you're going to get better and better and better at it as you go along. The first time I hired somebody, I thought I used the mirror test. If they could fog up a mirror, then we probably could do it. I was so dumb, I thought if you hired people, they would work. I was so dumb, I thought if you hired people, they would care. And that's where I started. You got to get the right people on the team, and you got to release into the wild the ones that shouldn't be there. You got to fire some people. Not today, but you will have to fire some people. Then you have to have a plan. My friend Zig Ziglar used to say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time. You got to have a plan. Winning is an intentional act. No one accidentally wins the Super Bowl. No one accidentally becomes successful. No one accidentally has a great marriage. It's not an accident. It's a series of intentional acts executed with a desired future. And then we develop a product out of all that, a product or a service that we put in the marketplace, and we have to deliver excellence. And we have to service it, and we have to fix it because it always breaks. And then we got to do it again. Oh, and then it becomes outdated, and we have to do a version 6.40. And then we got to do it again. And the product then creates profit. And Ken Blanchard says that profit is the applause that your customers give you. And my friend Rabbi Daniel Lapin famously says that if you do a great job for your customers, they will give you certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on them. The natural byproduct of serving the community, serving the world, serving the customer well, the natural byproduct of that is profit. And so if you make a lot of money, you are not evil, even though the lefty communist professors tell you you are. When you make a lot of profit, you're an American. You did a good job. You're part of capitalism. We don't believe in anarchy and communism and socialism here. I am a capitalist pig. I love it. It's the best system ever devised. So get up and go do something. Profit is the byproduct of loving your customers well. It's the byproduct of putting out something excellent in the marketplace. You put out crap in the marketplace, you screw people, you don't make a profit because nobody does business with you but once. And they tell everybody to not do business even that once. You create repeatable customers, referrals, you create everything just by simply doing the right thing, and profit is a natural flow downstream of that. And then guess what? You get to do it all again. You get to work on you again and go deeper. You get to work on your purpose and drive it deeper into the organization. You get to work on the people and get new ones and replace some of the ones that can't make it at this next level. And oh, it's such a process to go around these 6 drivers of business over and over and over again.